I'm pulling up the discussion points from.
Well, another Sunday, another date at the curling club. Someone's got their ringer turned on. I can hear. You might hear that in the background. It caught me a little bit by surprise. It's Between Two Sheets.
Kit's also here in the background, too.
Kit's in the background again, yep.
Tradition.
Season 2, episode 10.
Yeah.
Got a lot of good things going on. Coming off a really good episode.
I just said I didn't have anything, but I was checking analytics here, and this morning we were at 1,995. So we're about to actually break 2K. Yeah, I think it'll happen
We've almost
today.
doubled this season then.
Yes. I think we came in at like 1,100. So yeah, we're on a roll.
That's like I said earlier. Look out, Rogan.
I think a big part of that is we've been getting good interviews, and it's fun looking at our distribution map too for where the downloads are, because it's not just North Dakota and South Saskatchewan and our snowbirds in Phoenix anymore.
I was gonna, tell us a little bit about how that looks right now. Like what are the areas we're hitting?
We're still a Midwest centered, but we've been creeping east. So we're down Twin Cities, and then there's some in Michigan and Ohio and Indiana, New York.
New York,
New Jersey maybe coming
the
up.
City that never sleeps.
Yes, and just kind of scattered around too. I never know if people just touch it once and then don't hit it again. But
all right, well, as usual, we got Nolan Axton here with you, Wes Mason, of course, and guess who's finally back in studio,
live and in person.
He's here for all of our viewers. Introduce yourself.
Hi.
You got a new hat too. I really like it.
Yeah.
Minot Curling Club trucker hat.
I'm on the second notch. I mean, you could take a look there.
Oh, wow.
Not a whole lot of room left.
The limits.
That's an engineering thing. Got big domes,
Yep.
Yeah. That's Clay Fellner, by the way. The worst at introductions. They say introduce yourself, and he says hi.
Hey.
West, we got a good episode today. Following up a really good episode that we had with Evan Workin. Why don't you go ahead and introduce our guests and give a little look into what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, well, stumbled on some guys here again online. We are going to talk to Mike Harwat and Brian Ressler. They are in the leadership of the Curl Troy curling organization, another nonprofit club out of, depending on how you split it, and we'll get to that, Dayton, Ohio or Springfield, Ohio. And they got an arena club, 2 arena clubs again. We'll get more into that. Really excited to hear their story and what they're up to. I actually found them because I was looking for military curlers, and I'd seen an article about military curling at Curl Troy. So that's why I reached out. Turns out they don't have enough active duty to field a full team for my military championship vision, but they have air base out there. Maybe it'll come sometime.
They can start recruiting.
They can start recruiting. Yep.
I feel like that's something military people are really good at, is recruitment.
Some of them.
Just
yes.
throwing it out
I think
there.
if you're good at it, they make sure you end up in that little office in the strip mall. Which actually one of my good buddies from high school ended up doing that for the Army. All right. So I'm going to give him a ring here.
Yeah, let's call him up.
Yeah. It is exciting hearing the phone ring. I like
It
that.
is.
It
It's
feels
my
like we're on the
favorite part.
radio.
Hello, gentlemen.
Mike, how are we doing?
Hey, doing well. How you guys doing?
Great. We got the full crew here now because somebody was running late there.
How's it going? This is Nolan here. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I was at rec volleyball. I'm still holding on to that dream of having a little bit of youth left. So
He turns 30 next month. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll get into this, but I played soccer up until I was about 31, 32, and my body just couldn't take it anymore. And then I was in like a weird 2 to 3 year gap before I had anything, and then I finally found curling. So, but I had to give up the soccer.
I feel you. Softball and volleyball. I think that's out the door this year for me. Once I hit that 30 mark.
Yeah.
Third, good Lord.
All right. So,
I'm facing my mid 40s now.
well, you're about to hit your second wind, as we say around the club here. Well, not really me, but once you hit 50, you can do seniors and go get stomped in that too.
Do they have some kind of stick volleyball you could take part of or something?
Maybe like lawn bowling or something.
They have seniors volleyball, right?
They what?
They have seniors volleyball in town?
No, not in Minot. No. Anyways.
Yeah, so I did a light introduction for you guys, Mike and Brian, but would you mind saying your names and what position you hold if you're in the leadership over there with Curl Troy, and then we'll get rolling from there.
My name is Brian Ressler. I'll say we sort of just don't have defined roles at this moment on the board. We're kind of a little agrarian in that respect at the moment. So we're kind of just facilitators of Curl Troy.
Okay, I should ask, when I joined this club, we actually did not have a board either. We had a couple guys that names were still on the bank accounts and were able to put the checks in and pay the utilities. And we helped get that back going, me and Clay, and Nolan joined us later. Do you guys have a formal board leadership over there, or how agrarian?
Yeah, we do have a formal board that is partially elected and partially sort of nominated by the board. So it's kind of a mix between that and voting from our current membership. Yeah. But none of them, we do have a treasurer who's responsible for taking care of, all of our financial needs in that respect. But we sort of divide and conquer amongst the rest of us.
Yeah. What's our phrase, guys? Working board, right? Got a working
board. Yeah.
Yeah, we are very much a working board. This is Mike Harwat speaking. I've been with the club now for 10 years, and I think I was volunteering from the get-go, but I've been, formally on the board for, I think, 7 years now, it feels like. Yeah. So it's been a wild journey. I can't believe I've been doing this for 10 years now.
Yeah, and to spoil a little bit here, 14 years you guys have been running an arena club, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
So, well, that's the funny thing, because we start talking about curling and how you get into it. My interest really started, I would say, ramping up in the 2010 Olympics. And then in 2014, 2010 was when Curl Troy was founded. And in 2014, I was at work and, cooler talk, and I wouldn't shut up about curling. But, living in, Midwest Ohio, I never thought I'd try curling, right? That's something you only did in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Canada. And then someone found an article from a local paper, be like, shut up, Harwat, go try curling. And then from, that moment I threw that first stone, I was like, I'm like, hey, you guys aren't getting rid of me. You're stuck with me.
Yeah, we were just talking about that feeling of throwing your rock and watching it. You get to wonder if it's going to be a good or a bad shot, or maybe it's going to be a good or a bad one. And that moment of suspense, while you're watching it go down the ice. That was just at your rental there, Nolan.
Yeah.
Wondering if it's going to be plan B or plan C after it gets down there.
Yeah, which letter you're picking. You touched on it a little bit. I would like to hear a little bit from both you guys about how you found the game and what got you started into the sport of curling.
Well, yeah, I'll go first since I already briefly mentioned that. Yeah, so I started curling. It was I think 2014. I did a learn to curl, and then 2015 my first real experience curling in a league was in our outdoor league. So we do regular outdoor programming, and one of the things that the curlers that first really got me into it was Thomas Ulsrud. I love the crazy pants him and his Team Norway guys used to wear. And that's what really drew me into it. And I'm not kidding when I say this. I have way more pairs of those crazy pants than I could possibly wear in a season now.
He was a pioneer of the curling fashion world. That's for sure.
Pioneer. And so, and that's one of the things that drew me to it. And then I also, like that, I think a lot of people, when they first see the sport, they're like, oh, they think it's easier than what it is, right? And then, So I think one of the things that I appreciated from it was like, okay, this is way much more of a skill than I ever thought, right? So, it's kind of like golf, right? You might go out and hit 50 bad drives, but in curling, you hit that one perfect shot. And that's what motivates me to keep going back is, just that one shot that's like, okay, that was awesome. So that's kind of why I'm still here. And I just want to, help grow the sport in Ohio, right? Because it's, like I said, I quit playing soccer about 12 years ago. And this has helped, fill that, competitive void, that, camaraderie, hanging out with people. So that's another reason why I got involved with Curl Troy was I want other people to be able to have the opportunity to try this.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Well, for myself, I think I've been curling maybe at least maybe 8 years now. I think I was trying to look back and find out earlier, and that's the best I can. That's the best I can do. But a group of guys and myself, I think we were all sitting around at like a trivia night at a bar and saw an advertisement for curling in a local magazine, and in our kind of drunken enthusiasm, which is probably fitting for curling, we just all signed up, and that was also for the outdoor league, which is and we can talk about that in a little bit, but that's still kind of our most popular place to curl, which is always surprising. Every year it's surprising, we were just kind of hooked from the start. I remember the league is pretty short. It's only 6 weeks because, it's fairly warm down here, and we kind of got to beat the weather a lot of times when we're outside. So, after that 6 weeks, we went to a Bonspiel immediately in Columbus, Ohio, and the guys we were playing for, super great guys, as most curlers were, but they were pretty serious. They're pretty intense, and they lightened up the moment our skip said, "This is great. This is the first time we've curled indoors." And they said, "Well,
you're tough, for one." Yeah.
Yeah, they paused for a moment, and he said, "What do you mean by that exactly?" So yeah, that was just kind of we haven't let it go since then. I mean, it's every year we come back and do that outside.
Awesome. Right. It's always fun to hear a little bit about people's backstories and how they got involved in the game, things like that.
I guess if we're still on you guys, I'm curious as to if you've gone anywhere, competitively too. I assume you're maybe going to a 1 or 2 Bonspiels outside of town. Have you guys tried to do a play downs? Have you found any success, on the competitive end of things?
For me, I've had to step back in terms of how much Bonspieling I can do. I did go to play in Arena Nationals in 2017, but I just don't have the, ability to commit time to practice and go to the play down events and try to get, order of merit points and things like that. So for me now, it's much more recreational. I just want to go and have fun. I think the most I ever did in a year was, 8 Bonspiels. Now I'm usually down to like 1 or 2. And I think I've actually Bonspiel with Brian for the first time back in August up at Ohio Cup up in Cleveland Skating Club.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's a fancy place to go. Again, super great guys up there. They we hosted kind of we do kind of like a 1-day spiel that as we've kind of started to regrow our own programming, we're very insistent to try to get something started this year again, to bring people in, to curl with us. And I had a fun conversation with some of the guys up there in Cleveland, and they're like, they were hosting this first time event. They were trying to get all the teams from Ohio to come out and play in this, one event for the Ohio Cup. And it was basically like a tit for tat. They were like, well, if we send a team to your thing, can you send one to ours? And we said, sure. So, yeah, they're a bunch of cool guys up there.
We just did something similar this year. I say we, but I did not go. The Montana has started up. I want to say 4 or 5 arena clubs have gotten going over there, and one of the clubs asked us to come out and send a team, or invited us, and we did send a team of old timers out there, and they had a pretty good time curling with them. I guess their facility didn't have a club room and stuff, so there wasn't a whole lot of broom stacking, but had a nice time, made some connections, and now we're going to host them actually in March for the Mondac Spiel, we're calling it. They're going to get a bus and hit up like 4 of their arena clubs as they go through the state, and they come here and hang out with us for the weekend. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Yeah.
That's great, actually. A nearby club out in Indianapolis, Circle City, who just recently, they were an arena club for a long time, but they just recently, got a place of their own. And next month, they actually put out an invitation to a lot of other regional arena clubs specifically. And they said, hey, come here and let's do like it's just a 1-day event, but for the same purpose, come out, like we're just going to do like a very informal Midwestern, arena championship thing, and that we have a couple teams going out to that as well. well. So that should be fun. There's a couple of places from here, Michigan. I think Kentucky's got some folks going. So yeah, that I think that's a great idea.
And I think one of the cool things too is for some of our people, they've only ever curled outside. So this will be some of our members' chance to, see what a dedicated curling club's like, to have that chance to walk off the ice in broomsack. And, because that's one of the things when I used to bonspiel a lot, I tried to take newer people with me so they could get that experience. And so he said, hey, this is something we want to bring to the area just to get people excited about it, because I didn't really truly understand curling until I started bonspieling. Right. And how important that is and just the different people you get to meet.
It's a social sport with a competitive aspect. Sorry, Clay.
So I just, because it's been repeated a couple of times, when you mentioned you hadn't curled inside before, I think we better clarify on this point one. So,
yeah.
Well, we have now.
What we have now, but some of our
time.
At the time. So when you say that, when you say curling outside, can you describe that?
I mean, it's,
like straight up outside.
So Brian mentioned it's our most popular programming by far. Depending on the year, we have anywhere between 75 to 100 people out there. You never know what you're going to get with the weather, right? Like my first year out there, I said it was 2015. There was one of those. It was a frigid winter. I had one night where it was above zero.
Oh boy, it is frigid.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we have some nights where it's a little warmer, and then it is a covered rink, but then it's weird because then if the moisture builds up and it's cold enough, it'll start snowing.
It is a hockey rink.
So
it's a hockey rink with a cover. Is that kind of what I'm?
So I'll clarify a little. I'm sorry. It is. It's basically a pavilion in downtown Dayton. In the summer, they use it for concerts. In the winter, they put in a rink that is mostly, it's a local, parks and recreation organization that runs it. And so, their main goal is to get people out and doing things. But they've been very, very good partners with us, for curling there. So it's not quite full size, but it's pretty darn close. The sheets we're running are only a few feet shorter than they should be. But it doesn't matter because, because of the open air environment, I mean, you never know what you're going to get. The warmer it can be, sometimes even in February. I mean, this week it's supposed to be in the 50s. I mean, last week, Mike was curling on Tuesday. The wind chill was -15. So you never know. They can really, really, slow down the rocks quite a bit. So you're not really missing anything. And you actually probably are sweeping a lot harder than you would be inside.
We were just planning our outdoor event here, and we purposely were going to take like 10 feet off the sheets, and they were already not regulation length. So yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. We did one last year, like open to the atmosphere, no cover at all. And what we started to notice was the actual broom style mattered. We found that the old straw brooms open air actually provided a lot more use than some of our fabric club brooms.
Well, the horsehair ones especially are great for that.
Definitely, I have a horse broom, and that's the only place I use it because it makes a difference.
Yeah, I went and bought like 7 or 8 hair heads when WCF banned, because now they're almost impossible to find. So I went and gobbled up quite a bit. So.
Well, I keep finding them in lockers here that we clean out, and I'm like, oh, there's another horsehair one.
Hang on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that does happen. I mean, even covered or not, if the snow is falling, we'll still go out and play. And if you happen to find yourself with a broom like that, you definitely have the advantage. One of the things you shouldn't do, but it's fun because it's all pretty casual out there. Is maybe there's a little bit of a snow spot you forgot to clear, close to the button or something, and that rock just stops. Oh gosh, I missed that.
So because we're starting a little bit more outdoor events here. We have a pavilion type area, like very much like you described, that's currently getting built, and we have a downtown area that's currently in use. Any pointers, anything you've learned after a couple of years of I'll call it arena curling, but outdoor arena curling that you you didn't know that you needed that you figured out after a couple of tries?
Yeah, give us the pitfalls.
If you have some older rocks, I would probably use those.
Yeah.
We're not using the club ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's probably a good idea. We try to keep, this is partially because we travel around a lot, but also because storage can be an issue. When we store rocks there, we store them in big ice freezers that are on wheels. They allow us to kind of keep it in the utility room with the Zamboni that they have there. They have a proper, what do you call it? Thermostat and all that on there that you can set the temperature and so on and so forth to make sure they're not too cold, but also not too warm, because those things will just melt right into the ice as soon as you put them out there if they're not cold enough.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Like, it's funny, right? We're Curl Troy. It's actually been a few years since we've curled in Troy, but when we stored our rocks up there, I remember listening to one of your previous podcasts. I think we were talking to Craig, and we would have to get there. We would be lucky if we got to chill our stones for 20 minutes before we played. So we, definitely know what it's like to have rocks that are too warm and freezing into the ice. I think, honestly, the thing where I tell people about outdoor curling is you have to go in with the attitude, this is just going to be fun, because a lot of times when you're trying to start trying to play real curling strategy, that might be a challenge. Right. So look at it as, I'm just getting to curl and having fun. I think that's the best advice I can give to anybody that's how you should approach curling in general. Yeah. Right. But certain things like you do setting up guards and things like that and doing angle raises might not be as makeable on the ice outside.
You got so many different elements you're dealing with. Yeah. It's takes a little bit of the strategy out of it in a way.
It does, and it can add different kinds of strategy. Yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier that I think the way arena curlers in general and folks who have a dedicated place approach the game are a little bit different, and not that necessarily one is good or bad, but we don't take anything for granted.
No,
because it's if we're curling, again, this week in negative 15 wind chills, and we'll be lucky if we get out on Thursday this week because it's supposed to be above 50 and raining. So, you just roll with it. And it's going to be what usually happens on those days, because it still gets chilly at night, is it's going to be raining all day. It's going to get cold at night, which means all this frost is going to settle on the ice, and just deal with it. It's, we're out to have fun.
I'd like to back up a little bit and go through club history, but since we're on the topic of ice quality, what is your guys' procedure before you curl every, I think you have multiple nights. So how much time does that take? How many volunteers you need? Is the city coming through? And I assume there's Zamboni in it nice for you before you start, but walk me through that quick.
Yeah. So you usually get the ice roughly depending on the venue, 30 minutes before. I mean, we've had it where we've had anywhere from 2 to 10 people helping, right? It really just depends. We don't do any sort of scraping outside or at Springfield, right? Do we use the scraper up there?
No, I mean, we've talked about it. It's just not enough.
Yeah.
We do have a full scraper, thankfully, that we do use when we do more like the 1 day spiel we did earlier this year. But during league nights, it's usually just a mop run or something.
Yeah, but outside we do 1 or 2 passes with the pebbler. Some of the challenges that we've been having the last 2 weeks, because I play on Tuesday nights outside, is with the hack setting. My first night out there, especially when it's really warm, they just don't set. So my first night out there, it was about 44 degrees. The hacks wouldn't set. So we did stick curling on my sheet. And then
make sure your water's not too warm.
Yeah.
So are those the metal bottom hacks, or do they have a peg? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're just heating them up, and then trying to drop them in and let them melt.
And not too much. Yep. If they're too warm, they won't refreeze. But
sure.
It's
one trick we came up with putting our lines in. We use yarn, and you got to hold it there with your hand and sprinkle water over it. We started buying computer duster, flipping it over, and letting the CO2 come straight out. So I don't know, maybe throw a can of that in your car for an emergency, because that works.
On our one outdoor event, we kept on having a problem because we couldn't add any water because the water kept on freezing. We were trying to add. It was
I had the Pebble can froze, and I remember I had the copper sitting over a propane fire, that I had brought for warming. I was melting that.
I will say this: if you're pebbling and it's outside, also make sure that the seals on your pebble are working, because I've had nights where, -10 all of a sudden I'm like, my back's all wet. It's going to be a fun 2 hours.
Oh yeah. The temperature change. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I always get wet too because it's got that open air top and I slosh, so wouldn't notice for a while.
We have one of the kind of bigger challenges even out there is, pulling out all the stones, because they're not sitting on the ice. They're, I don't know, maybe
20-30 yards.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you got to push these 3 large chests of, filled with rocks, up to the rink, and then get them all out. And, a lot of the people that play there, they've played there for years, and they know there's an expectation that they need to do that. So, while we have a lot of prep from, I'm going to say like more senior club members to do, like, the pebbling and the hacks and all that stuff, the players who come in, they know they need to get the stones out. They know that they need to put their boards up, scoreboards, sorry, and things like that. So it's a pretty, good system. Like, as long as everybody knows what their role is in that, and you make it clear to start with, and so on, it runs pretty smoothly.
And it's 3 sheets, correct? So you got three
sheets,
sets. Okay. Yep. Yeah. That's a lot of weight. Yep.
Yeah, we run 4 in our fall and spring leagues, which are not outside. But that 4th set of stones, rarely leaves the arena that we curl in on the rest of the year.
So you've pebbled, maybe 1 or 2 passes there. Do you guys nip or rock rack or both?
We don't have a nipper. We do. We've never done that outside. We have done it inside.
Yeah, we don't do it outside mostly just because that's just one more thing we have to move.
Yep.
Right. And so what's one thing, for a couple of years, we were actually curling it up to 3 different venues a year. Right. So we've gotten to the point where it's like
real nomads.
Yeah. So we just try to minimize as much as possible what we have to move from place to place.
Okay. Let's go back here now. Talk to me about club founding, where you guys got started there.
I would say you know more than that.
Yeah. So Curl Troy was founded in 2010, and the founder's story was just similar to something I think what a lot of curlers will tell you, right? One of our, still on the board, our founder, Bruce Klingen, one of our founding members, was just watching curling one day, and he's like, I got to try this. And so he and a couple other people started driving back and forth from, I think most of these people were from the Troy area, so north of Dayton, driving back and forth to the Columbus a couple nights a week to learn how to curl. And then they went and they were able to, I think they worked through USCA and their stone leasing program, or maybe it was GLCA.
I can't remember that.
I can't remember how we got the first sets of stones, but they leased our first sets of stones. And then they started curling at Hobart Arena in 2010. And then, I think it wasn't long after that when they started the programming at Riverscape in downtown Dayton. And so, like I said, club's been going for 14 years. We're doing, I think we're doing really well right now. Like I said, we get 100 people curling with us outside. So, that is always very exciting. And especially, since we didn't even curl at all in 2021 due to COVID, as soon as we opened up signups for our winter 2022 programming at Riverscape, it sold out in less than a week. So after not curling for about 18 months, we sold that programming out in less than a week. So that was really exciting to see that, the interest in curling in this area remains strong.
Yeah, well, I think that says something too about the programs that you'd been running prior. If it was a chore, people didn't like it, they wouldn't come back after a year off. So good on you guys. Yeah.
Well,
we lost members,
Oh, for sure. Well, and I think it definitely was a struggle from a real membership standpoint. We run 4 draws out at Riverscape downtown, outdoors, which is more than we do the rest of the year. But the little catch to that, part of our agreement with Riverscape, is that we don't insist that the people that curl with us down there are members of the club. So it becomes a little bit of a catch-22, where, we have a lot of people who come out for this one time in the year and they love it. But they just never really do anything else with the club. There's a myriad of reasons why. There's been lots of people I talk to who just don't want to drive to where we curl the rest of the year, which is it's a little far away, but it's only about 30 minutes. It's not that far away.
Can you talk to me about that other location too? I don't know if we've mentioned that one. We talked about the Hobart here. I think you guys started that, but that's not where your other arena is now. Hobart.
Yeah, no, we don't curl in Troy at all anymore, which is, I guess, kind of ironic. That we curl the rest of the season in Springfield, which is just a little northeast of Dayton. Again, like maybe 30 minutes. It's just not that far. The Chiller is actually an organization that runs a number of different arenas. Quite a few of them in Columbus, Ohio, and then they have one that it's kind of a joint operation between them and National Trails and Parks. So it's a really nice place to play. Yeah. It really is. It's pretty new. I think it's maybe 10 years old, maybe
if that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So we've been there. When did we do our 3-day spiel? Was that 17 or 18?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
So Chiller runs it. What's the name of the rink?
It's called the
NRPD Chiller,
NTPRD Chiller. I think
I was
NTRPD. Okay, acronym. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
sounds good.
But we have had a little bit of a struggle getting people from Dayton to curl up there. And so the last year or so, we've decided to try to focus more locally. In that area to get people to come in. And, last year, I think we mentioned it was a little bit of a rebuilding year after some of our struggles with COVID and getting, again, we were always pretty sure we could get that Riverscape. Those folks to come back would be fine. But to get actual members to come in and, do more than just curl one night a week and do nothing else, to try to, build a little bit more of a curl Troy culture, I guess, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
That was extremely challenging. And we're still in the middle of trying to work on that, to develop that again, because the membership in our club has ebbed and flowed a lot over the years, and we're kind of on that way back up again from sort of a low point after 2021.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of positives for us too, and we're always having discussions of do people want more curling, and Brian mentioned roughly 30-minute drive from downtown Dayton up to Springfield. And, what I think is a positive sign for us, for future in terms of, hey, do we want to jump from Arena Club to dedicated is, we have quite a few people from the Dayton market that will make a 40, 50, 60 mile drive down to curl at Cincinnati who plays on dedicated day. So I definitely think we have a market that wants curling, that wants dedicated ice. So I think that's a very positive sign, right? It's just, I think geography plays a lot into it, right? Like Brian said, even though it's not that far, some people might not want to drive 30 minutes, but if we have something closer to Dayton, I think that would just give us an opportunity to really grow and bring something positive to our community.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So I guess I was going to ask here about your guys' membership model, because I'm a little confused there. So, your outdoor league, is that pickup games? Are those structured games with registered teams? If you're, essentially too, if we have anybody listen who's maybe in Dayton, Ohio, how do they join? Or Springfield and they want to join, what would those look like?
Yeah, of course. So, membership is because of our curling downtown and kind of how that works. It has been a little bit of a weird issue with defining, how we want to who we want to have as a member and why, what possible good does that do for them? And so over the last couple of years, we've kind of settled on this somewhat arbitrary, but I think for us, a reasonable assumption that if you curl with us in at least 2 leagues. We do a number of them over the years, or I'm sorry, over the season, then you're a member. And that's gotten a little bit easier to define since we left the USCA, and kind of the cost benefit to having members. For us, it increased because that was the other part of the equation was, okay, we have if we have a defined membership and we have these additional costs to pay for our members, what are we getting out of it versus what are they getting out of it? And so for a long time, it was kind of, do we really need to have like a defined membership? And now I think where we're kind of heading is trying to make a little bit more of an effort to have more ownership from people who curl with us a lot, which again is a much smaller number than the folks who are curling with us outdoors. But to have those people feel like they actually have more ownership in the club here than maybe we had before.
So what did you see for I'm going to assume a cost reduction when you left USCA?
I'm sorry, second.
Cost reduction.
Oh,
Cost
yes.
reduction. I'm assuming that's one of the major factors, but not the only one.
It was kind of twofold. Yes, there was that, and both the membership and the insurance costs with GNCC were a lot lower. Now, with the way that USCA has kind of restructured things, I haven't done the math to, I don't know if anybody has, to figure out if that kind of is a wash at this point. But there was that, and it really was kind of trying to understand what the value add was at the time. And I did listen to your guys' podcast. And for any listeners who haven't done that, you should. It's very even-handed, and I think it, like everything that you talked about why maybe somebody would want to move to a GNCC versus USCA at that time. That's exactly the reasoning and the logic that when we had those discussions in 2022, how we kind of came to that conclusion, which is what are we as this kind of, I don't know,
grassroots,
little tiny club in Ohio? What are we seeing as a benefit at this point in time where, again, we were kind of struggling with, understanding who our long-term curlers even were at that time. Why are we paying this organization that's really not doing anything for us? And that's not to say anything bad about what USCA does, because I think what they do is great. But
just not for your member base.
Exactly.
We get that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You got to see the benefit of the program you're going with, correct?
Yeah, for sure. And for me, one of the things that I looked at it was like, Brian said, I think USCA is great. Now that I think they have new leadership, with Dean and everything, I think things are going in a more positive direction. But a few years ago, it seemed like the USCA model was really focused on, the competitive side of curling, right?
Yes.
High performance,
Yep.
Competing at the international stage. And like Brian said, because people always ask us, well, how many members do you have? And that's never a question that I like answering, because like he said, some years we have over 100 people outside, right? Mm-hmm. But that might be the only time we see those people. And so I like that GNCA still seems to have that more, okay, we want to help these small clubs grow. And that's what I liked from how they were going to, why joining them and being part of that, I guess, what is it, member or regional structure, why I thought that was just, I think, a better fit for Curl Troy at the time, because, paying USCA dues, it's got to be a two-way street. And, it just didn't feel like at that time it made sense for us to be part of USCA. And as we're trying to, what I want to say, build our club up, I think GNCA has more to offer us than USCA did.
I think you're mixing together GLCA and GNCA.
Yes, you're right. I am.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just
I knew what you were saying.
I knew, yeah. I knew where you were going.
My bad.
You're good.
It's
So
You're
for-
good.
acronyms.
for the
And
insurance,
funny enough, right? A guy who works for the Air Force, I can't keep my acronyms.
Too many.
No,
Too
okay.
many.
I'm gonna say it's a Grand National, right? Is that the
Yep,
one?
Grand National.
Yeah,
So it's a Grand
National,
National,
yes.
and not to dig into insurance too much because it's not the most interesting podcast topic. But are you getting a much better insurance deal right now?
Do
Then?
you need insurance as an arena club playing at other facilities too? That's a question I have. Do you even need it in the first place?
I could not answer either of those questions off the top of my head.
That's fine.
That's all right.
Somebody
We're in
else
the
deals with that, deals with the insurance side of this.
Yeah,
I-
and you
I
listened
do
to
know
our
it's cheaper.
episode, so that's really the biggest thing for us.
For us,
you
it's
know,
insurance,
yeah.
and it's just knowing that USA Curling gave us the insurance deal better than anywhere we could get it other that we knew of.
Yeah, it was.
But-
I mean, I can tell you at least off the. I mean, it was a better deal through GNCC
Mhm.
from an insurance standpoint,
Sure.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, it's
Sorry, I got my son walking around the background. If you hear that noise,
No worries.
they seem to
Good.
GNCC seem to be a little bit more of that little or developing club friendly as opposed to the USCA, and you guys hit the nail on the head perfectly. Like they were focused on high performance and
Yeah, and we have the same complaints here.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
and we're closer to their headquarters and stuff, and we have people that have gone and competed, you know, over the years too. So we probably have a history of a lot closer ties with them, but same complaints. You know, I feel you. You know, and I don't think you made the wrong decision or right one. It's just you're doing what's right for you at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and they have made it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. You gotta let you finish your point here.
Oh, I was going to say, and I know they have, you know, they've begun to make it a lot easier, again, than it used to be, and a little bit more affordable when it comes to, you know, considering that membership. I think, you know, as an arena club, again, I mean, you know, we know where our competitive level is. As Mike said, you know, he attended Arena Nationals one year. A team that I was a part of was supposed to go to Arena Nationals in 2020, but that was canceled. You know, we know that's kind of where we're mostly at as an organization, and that's great. And that's fine. But if that's, you know, from a national standpoint, you know, the only thing that we can offer members, then I don't know. It kind of gets tough to justify that. And you know, and if we you know continue to grow as we are now, and you know at some point you know we want you know teams express more interest in being part of more national competitions or even you know more you know regional competitions at this point. Then yeah, that's a question that needs to be revisited based on the demand of membership, if that's what they want. And then you know, there's no reason, there's not a bridge burned here or anything like that. It's just you know, again, made sense at that time and might make sense in the future to rejoin again.
Yeah, and I think they have that at large too. You know, so I believe if you guys had a member who's like, hey, I want to go, you know, compete at Playdowns, they could purchase the at large and go, and there's no issue with that. You know, as long as they did their paperwork. But
Yeah. So what I was going to ask, just looking at your club and events like that, obviously you have the 6-week outdoor season. What other kind of events do you guys host? Do you do bonspiels throughout the year? Do you have any sort of youth curling programs, any learn to curls or anything like that? Or is that kind of future plans or?
I mean, that just depends on the year. We didn't really do any formal learn to curls this year.
Well,
Not yet. Not yet.
I can talk a little bit about
But we've done in the past learn to curls outside. We usually used to get a couple weeks in December. We didn't have that this year, but Brian is our programming coordinator for the chiller up in Springfield. So, you know, I'll let him run through some of the programming we have planned for this spring and potentially summer.
So we as you said, you know, we normally do learn to curls in the winter. You know, we try to get folks in before kind of the kind of major bulk of the season. But this year it just didn't work out that way. But we have had a number of companies, organizations that have expressed interest at that time. They wanted to do kind of a, corporate event kind of thing. And we didn't have it. A struggle, I'm sure every arena club has, is finding ice time that, meets somebody else's needs. But what we did have, what we kind of sort of almost fell into was last year. So as I said, we were kind of regrowing a little bit. We had some sort of abbreviated programming. And this year we were kind of trying to kind of fill out a little bit more and kind of continue that progress of kind of getting new people in the door again. So this spring, after we leave the outdoor arena, we had initially set up, an 8-week competitive league, or it's really, for our club members, generally speaking. And then we had 2 4-week introductory leagues is how we were doing that. Because last year we did that instead of a normal spring league, and it worked out really well. We actually filled up a lot. I think I'm not going to remember. We basically were short 8 spots of filling up 2 separate leagues with 4 sheets. So it was great. It was more than I expected, and so we kind of wanted to repeat the same thing this year.
Yeah, I think those short leagues are nice for newbies too. They make it seem more approachable. That's how I run my Air Force Space League. We wait till after the holidays, and they have a shorter season.
You don't gotta commit to a full 6 months of curling.
It's intimidating to get new members in that, and that's something we struggle with our regular membership model. We turn the plant on. We're lucky if we get ice in by Thanksgiving. That's gotten better over the years. Maybe we have 2 weeks of open houses. And it's always tough because we're busy. Yeah. We're busy, and it's hard to advertise. We're doing other stuff, and then.
Very intimidating for new curlers, to go the full season. And I
absolutely,
think it's a great tool to be able to have a shortened one.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, even that 8 weeks sometimes can scare people off, even if it's just the cost. If someone's never done something before.
And we offer reduced pricing for it, but still, it's just the time commitment.
Real quick, what is it to curl in your guys' leagues? I understand you have the short ones, different ones. Ballpark it for me.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The cost for our league. So our outdoor league was, I think, 140 a person this year?
Yeah.
And then I think our instructional leagues, the 4-week instructional leagues, are 128 a person.
Yeah.
For 4 weeks. And that's usually, the first night's usually like a learn to curl with a short game. And then afterwards we, just maybe might work on a particular skill for a little bit. And then we get the curlers into a game after that. I don't remember how much is the 8 week.
So generally out at the chiller, it's $32 a night, if you want to put it that way. So it's 128 for the 4 weeks, or I think it's like 250 something, 265 maybe, I forget, for the 8 weeks. Whatever double of 128 is.
256. We're good at math.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Guys, just to let you know here too, I had warned you ahead of time, and I'm sorry we started late. We got another one we're going to have to get here to in just a few minutes. Are there any points that we've missed here that we want to make sure we hit on before we let you go? I wish we had scheduled a little bit longer here. I feel bad. We're still rolling.
Well, I'll just real quick mention as far as the learning leagues. I think I was saying that we had some of these organizations that wanted to do something, so we decided to cut one of the 4 weeks into basically 4 learn to curls for these organizations, and then we'll keep the other 4 weeks as a learning league. And one of those that I'm kind of excited about that maybe can lead into something else is from AFIT, the Air Force Institute of Technology, and they kind of approached us, and I want to maybe say it was as a result of maybe the same article that maybe you had stumbled across that Right Pad had done for us last year after they realized that we had quite a few servicemen out on the ice.
Yeah.
And so they hopefully will be coming out this spring. We're still kind of working out some of the details, but this March to try to do that. So our learn to curls are not quite the same as they have been in the past, but for all these different entities, especially for them, I'm really excited about it, and I'm kind of hoping that we continue to again just find ways to get curling in front of these different audiences.
Awesome. Well, and just from talking to you guys, again, thank you for coming on. It sounds like you're doing a great thing trying to grow the sport down there and using a kind of a different avenue than some clubs would use, getting people outdoors, experiencing curling in a different way, and then moving them indoors and just kind of continuing the sport throughout the season. One question that we always ask our guests, though, and that it's fun for our viewers to hear, what's your guys's, could be separate, could be a memory you have together, but what's the most memorable moment you have through your curling careers? Now, we do put a disclaimer on there. We do prefer it to be embarrassing, but it doesn't have to be.
It's preferably embarrassing about clay, which will be tough for you guys.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Finally.
I mean, good Lord. Look. Where do I start? I mean, I guess one of the things that, I'm not necessarily saying I'm a pioneer, but I think I was one of the first people who started wearing a helmet regularly when they curled about 8 or 9 years ago. I actually started curling with my father-in-law, and we were teaching a learn to curl one night, and we were telling people, you're trying to talk about ice safety, and so if you fall, tuck your head up. Well, my father-in-law is at the house on the other ice. He falls and smacks his head. I mean, knocked himself pretty bad, right? He was kind of woozy for a couple of days. So my wife is like, well, she got all worried. She's like, we make a living with our brains. And I'm like, honey, you didn't make me for my brains. You made me for my looks. So anyway, I go on Amazon and I get a helmet. And a helmet comes and she's like, why the hell did you buy a pink helmet? I'm like, look, I was like, honey, I'm going to be the only one out there. Because at the time, right, this was 8 or 9 years ago, no one was wearing helmets when they curled. I'm like, if I'm going to wear a helmet, I'm going to look ridiculous doing it. And so, it was funny because then people would ask me does the pink helmet mean are you supporting breast cancer?
It means I'm the skip.
Yeah. No, I'm like, it does. And it was funny because people thought it had a special, I'm like, no, it's just a pink helmet. That's all it was. So, I thought that was cool. And then, I think also it was one of what I also tell people is, I took the instructor level 1 class right when after only curling 5 times. I think that was a mistake, right? Because you're so new, and then they pretty much destroyed everything I was doing. And so, the next time I got back out on the ice, I tried to fix it all at one time. But, like I said, I think one of the best times I had Bondspieling was, I've known Brian for 8 or 9 years now.
Yeah.
But like I said, last August was the first time I got to Bondspiel with Brian and a couple of those guys. And damn, I started playing on the front end again. So me and the guy, Eric, man, we were just cracking each other up the whole weekend. So, it was just fun getting to actually team up with some guys that I've been curling with for a few years.
Yeah, it's great.
I'll make this quick. Out at Waltham, which is Spiel, it's in Illinois, a club in Illinois, and we go to their men's Spiel every year. It's just a blast. But the first year I went, pretty new to still curling on dedicated ice, and their sheets are really tight. The hacks kind of sit almost right against the wall. And being the arena curler that I was, I had a really bad habit of kind of winding up that takeoff from the hack, putting your leg way too far back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So without kind of realizing it, tried to do that and took off and just kind of belly slid, fell right over all the way down, had to let the stone go. That was my first throw of the game.
Uphill from there.
That was a lesson in, good posture, I guess. I don't know. That was embarrassing. That was yes, we're here to compete.
Yeah, well, don't feel too bad, Mike, there about the falling too. I concussed myself at our end of year Spiel last year, so it happens to everybody. Maybe I should wear one. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's always fun to hear fun parts of the game. Again, like I said, thank you guys very much for joining us today. It was awesome to hear about your club and the things you do and how you keep it rolling down there. And don't be strangers. You're now friends of the pod. So
yeah, thanks for having us on. And hopefully try and see if we can get a link or something for you guys. We want to make sure you're kind of well heard in this part of the country because it's fun to listen to you.
Yeah.
We got some business cards with QR codes we'll send your way.
Yeah, I'm get your guys' swag bag together. Mike was asking for a t-shirt or something. I don't know if we have any, but I'll get you something sent. So
Yeah, well, no, but like I said, I listened to your podcast with Craig, and if any of you guys are serious about trying to make their end of summer spiel, let me know because I try to make that one at least, if not every or every other year. So if you wanted to form a team, let me know.
all right, awesome.
All right, yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll talk. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I could go on for longer, but we got to run here. So yeah, take it easy. Yep.
All right.
Good curling, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Hey everybody, splicing this in here, I wanted to let you know that when we had done our sound check before we recorded with Mike and Brian, we were waiting for Nolan to get there to start recording. So we had actually had a short discussion about a couple of topics. And since we had cut them short, I'm going to post those here at the end of the episode. So, stick through our goodbye and you'll get to hear about another 6-7 minutes of us rambling about some topics. It's a good content too. So just to let you know, not the end coming up.
Oh, another good episode. It's always fun to talk to people from different parts of the world, just to see how different parts of the world, different parts of the country.
Yep.
See how they run their curling clubs and what they do. So I enjoy that.
Are we rolling right into the next one, or are we on a pause here for a little bit?
I think
we'll be a pause
and
we'll
cut.
Restart.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Otherwise, thanks for joining us. This has been episode 10, double digits for this season. We'll be back with the next one.
Bye. Hey, on a different note, the military stuff there. Brian, are you a civilian airman as well? I couldn't remember from the article here, and I haven't read it since I reached out to you guys.
No, not me. Mike, obviously, and I do curl with a number of them. It's hard here in Dayton. You kind of trip over them; they're everywhere. But
Minot's the same way.
So,
town of 50,000, and there's about I think 6,000 people with support staff that work on base. So they're all over around here too. Yeah,
I think right Pat's about 30,000 people. So that's there's always somebody. Everybody knows somebody who works at base.
Yeah. Is that one too? One of the things we struggle with in Minot is they all PCS. Within 2 to 3 years, typically. So we have just a bunch of turnover. I imagine they're doing the same thing over there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, actually, one of our former members, what did Brick start? Didn't he start a club out in
Roadrunner? Was it Roadrunner?
I think so, yeah.
He started Roadrunner. I've talked to him online. Yep.
You talked to Brick?
Yeah, well, I don't remember if it was Brick, but that guy that started the Roadrunner Club because
James Bricky, yeah.
I ran into him on Reddit, so I don't think we might not have exchanged first names.
Okay, he used to curl with us.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Actually, that's funny. The guy that founded my military league with me, really the driving force behind it, because he was an airman and had curled a season with us and was like, well, I'd like to do something for airmen. And I was the guy that, ended up doing it with him on the club side of things and then got him on the board as liaison. Kyle Hostetler is his name. And he got stationed down there at whatever the base is in Albuquerque. And he's been curling with that Roadrunner club, so that was how he kept going. Yeah, small curling world, man. The more I get out there, the more I go, it's a good thing I've been keeping my nose clean. So.
Well, it was smaller. It was funny because I listened to the podcast you guys did with Craig, and I think I texted you like, no joke, we have their old scoreboards.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
the folding table with duct tape.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's what it is. So we got ones that are printed. Yeah. We got new rocks a couple years back. And so we used to have black and yellow were our colors, and they don't sell black rock handles anymore, so we converted to yellow and red, and our solution, it was black and red was the colors. So now we have yellow and red, and we just went and put like a strip of yellow duct tape over the black so it looks goofy, but from a distance, it looks almost intentional. So
Oh yeah, we got the folding tables, and then someone put screws in to hang the numbers. Yeah, it's
it's really clever actually.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just kind of wasting time here until Nolan gets here. We record our intro, but one thing I don't think we've ever mentioned on the podcast before, but a tradition in Minot going back further than anyone can remember is we have this big plywood sign that was hand painted, and it's got the word "if" on it. IF. And everybody asks about it, when they join the club. Eventually they notice it and go, what's the big if for? And I'm like, man, if only I'd have hit that draw, or, if only the other team would have missed that shot, we'd all be Olympians, right? And I don't think it's necessarily our club motto, but it's got to be up there, so.
That's awesome.
Old signage, it's something everybody got to have.
I am surprised that hasn't made it onto a T-shirt or something.
So I have to ask though. I don't remember who it was, but I think someone mentioned that they curled at a 2-sheet club in Canada. Who was that? And what was the club?
It was the Minton, Saskatchewan club. That's actually
Okay.
Nolan that's running late here. Clay, I moved you down to the other one so Nolan can run the board. So Nolan grew up in Minton, and his dad, I don't know if you'd call him head ice guy up there. It's a 2-sheet Quonset club. They had piping running underneath sand floor, but they had artificial cooling equipment, and that's where he grew up curling and competing at was in Minton, with his high school, and did a lot of curling on a 2-sheet sand floor, and they do the same process we do. You get the sand to freeze, and then you build up a little water, and then you paint it. So when you're standing on it, you don't know that it's a sand floor necessarily because it just looks white, like everything else. Yeah. But yeah, that's its own thing. They have same issues as us kind of too. We don't have insulation around our building, so you get heaves and stuff. But yeah, it's whatever. It's small town curling in Canada. And those used to be everywhere. Every little town used to have a 1, 2, 3-sheet club, and now they've gone the way of the dodo. So it's just the sizable towns. My wife's from Redvers, Saskatchewan, which I want to say is a town of about 1,200, and they didn't get enough people this year to have a curling league, so they didn't even bother putting the ice in. It might be the first year in like 80 years. They didn't have curling in Redvers. So
that's so surprising. I mean, at minimum, you think, it would just be something to do while it's still cold.
Yeah, well, they have the same issue. Again, you guys are in a little different geography out here. Rural Saskatchewan and rural North Dakota, ag keeps it alive. And with ag mechanization, you don't need 12 kids to work a farm, and all the farm hands, it's gone to equipment. So these little towns are just have less and less people in them, and then with that, your membership goes down. So I think that's really been the story of rural curling. The sport's grown down in the States, obviously. It's probably the most curling's ever been going on south of the border, but I would venture a guess that north of the border, it's the opposite story. But I'm not too tuned in on them, so don't quote me on it.
No, I've heard it shrinking a little bit in Canada. Like you said, the smaller clubs just can't.
Yep. Yeah, I think they still have the same like high performance stance, like the big clubs and the guys that compete,
just more centralized, I think is what it is.
This is Clay, by the way, just joined us. I see Nolan just walked in here. Do we want to put a pin in it? We'll get through our intro and we'll give you a call back. And God, this was so good. I might splice it in somewhere. So, don't be surprised if we do that. So, all right. I'll chat with you guys shortly. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Friends, Romans,
man.
Countrymen.
Yep.